And the question becomes, are you politically illiterate? Chances are you are. Are you one of the people that believes there's a left and right? Indeed, there is a left wing and a right wing, and there are all these theoretical notions, but start by understanding and recognizing that political science is philosophy. It's not science in the same sense of natural science, apart from the mathematical element. Now then, break it down. I've been saying it to people, but obviously the government, the mainstream, and the system and the establishment, it's useful to put them in these left and rights. And when you want to demonize the other side, so to speak, it's useful to lump them all together so you could put the most toxic elements on both sides with the other group. But the fact is, left and right is way outdated, but it's good for basic, that binary notion, you understand? And ultimately, to me, in the U.S. presidential elections, which we're coming up on now, ultimately, by the time you get to November, I do believe in a binary system. Because otherwise you have a minority party like they have in Europe sometimes. So many candidates, you got small minority parties basically ruling. That people ain't going to tolerate that. Should be, to me, in January you start with the top 10 candidates, period. Boom. Then by some will go down, or before then you go down to 4. By summertime, let's say you get to 2. And from summer to November, bam, that's your 2. Establishment ain't going to like that because maybe they won't get picked for them last 2, champ. But let's say there's a basic binary left and right wing, right? Democrats, Republicans, people put in America. Then you have what I follow, but it's not exclusively that I follow. This is just a better way to understand politics and get deeper into political science, horseshoe theory. So as some people know, the far left and the far right are more alike to each other than they are to the mainstream, but it's a little more complex than that. So basically you got your regular centrism, left and right. You got far left and far right. So in America, those would be MAGA on the right side, let's say, and the squad on the left side. But they're still not the extreme. Nazi and communist is the extreme, and neither one is going to openly embrace communism or Nazism, are they? So they still remain far left and far right. Then in between Nazism and communism, or you could just look at it as socialism versus capitalism. Because let's go back to the original theory. Initially, when these theories came around, interwar Germany period and so forth, Italy, right? When these theories are coming around, fascism and everything else like that, we, socialist leftists, didn't recognize fascism as a unique political system. It was just a later stage of capitalism. So then the two poles can be socialism and capitalism, or it could be communism and Nazism. That you could flip up. But just to say that a communist and a Nazi are more similar to each other than they are to even the regular far left and far right, although obviously it's graduated spectrums. But now other people say, well, no, I don't like the horseshoe theory, or I go by quadrant theory. I use it all. But quadrant theory basically is you got a left and right, but then you got a up and down as far as authoritarian versus libertarian. So as I said before, so then you'd have obviously authoritarian left wing is Stalinism. A libertarian left wing, now in the United States obviously is different than other places and everything like that, but does RFK fit that? Some people think he's right wing, but he came from a Democrat party, which is left, so that's where the left and right gets a bit murky. But authoritarian right wing would be Nazism. Libertarian right wing would be Dr. Ron Paul, his son Ron Paul, right? So now I'll introduce to you my establishment quotient quadrant theory. So it's based off quadrant theory, but I take out the authoritarian element because to me that's subjective, and nobody's walking around saying they're authoritarian. But in the same regard, the establishment, you don't have to say you're the establishment, but to be it. So then to me, it's left and right, let's use that. And then there's establishment, anti-establishment. Ooh, anti-establishment. Now you hear people in the mainstream demonizing right-wing people as anti-government. What do you mean? I thought we're all anti-government. The entire punk rock movement, entire hardcore movement, entire hip-hop movement, not this corporate hip-hop that they give people now that's acceptable. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be anti-establishment, counterculture. We're against the mainstream in the system, but the mainstream in the system absorbs our organic street movements. You understand? So then, who's the establishment? Left and right? Well, as I call them, Republicrats. The one-party system. They call them the Uni-Party. Your Dick Cheneys and the ones that are associated, obviously, with Biden and everything like that. That's your establishment. No question. Now, the question is the MAGA movement anti-establishment? It looks that way to me. You know what I mean? And then, but then the squad, when you get to them, it seems like on that side, they've embraced that wing of the party. It's quite complex, but just think about that and I'll leave you there. Take your left and right, and now group your Republicans and Democrats according to where they stand on the establishment or anti-establishment grid. Try that one out on for size, turkeys.